You know, we're going to go right off the bat, right out of the starting blocks, folks, as, hey, we are less than 72 hours away from kickoff for Alabama and Oklahoma, the college football playoff semifinal in the Orange Bowl, or we might as well call it the Alabama Invitational, because the Crimson Tide's been in every one of these college football playoffs. So a familiar sight for the Crimson and White. But the last time Alabama faced Oklahoma, not such a good sight down in New Orleans as far as a 45-31 loss, albeit in the now, I guess we can call it the pre-college football playoff era. But let's get right into it then. As far as Tua, Kyler Murray, the Sooners, the Crimson Tide. First off, Tua Tagovailoa stating, Martin, that he is 80 to 85% healthy as of yesterday. So deal or no deal for Tua Tagovailoa when it comes to kickoff, 7 p.m. Central Time. Tua Tagovailoa will be 100% and ready to go.
Well, you know, coming off of a surgery that close, I'm not going to say he's going to be, 100%, but I think he will be healthy enough based on the way things have progressed. He's been ahead of schedule the entire time. He even said that he was not supposed to – it'd take him a couple weeks to start walking without a boot, and he was doing it in 4 to 5 days. So that would tell me he's well ahead of schedule. So I would look for him to be in that 90-plus range. And the reality of it is, James – I don't know after the 5th, 6th, 7th game of any season that I was ever more than, 95%. So he 90% for Tua is probably healthier than he was at any point from Tennessee on this year when you think about what he was dealing with the knee. And that's something we hadn't really talked about. So I would say deal on the ankle, he'll be close to 100%. But more importantly than that, that may be the only thing that's holding him back.
So deal or no deal, Tua essentially is going to be as healthy as he's going to be going into Saturday.
He's as healthy, James. I think he'll still improve in terms of what he said his number was. Now, that number could have been thrown out there for our benefit and for Oklahoma's benefit. He could already be as healthy as he's going to be and just getting stronger in terms of that ankle, because that's what the thing with these high ankle sprains, they're such easy injuries to happen again. But I'm excited because this may be the healthiest Tua's been since middle ways of the season, since the first time we saw him run out with that brace on. That's the part that no one's really talked about, and I think is going to help Tua look like that Tua we saw early on, where he was hitting everything down the field and dropping dimes in. So that's what I'm excited about as well.
Well, you can talk. We'll get to Kyler Murray in a moment, but an area for Oklahoma that's getting quite overlooked is their offensive line. They have, Martin, 4 starters that have collectively started more than 140 games in their collegiate careers. You're talking about a couple of seniors and 2 fourth-year juniors, redshirt juniors as well. But I want to get into maybe, and this is going to be my deal or no deal for you, the key matchup of this entire ball game. Matchup-wise, individually, they've got a redshirt freshman, Oklahoma does, a redshirt freshman center in Creed Humphrey going up against one, if not the top nose guard in the country, in Quinnen Williams. So, center Creed Humphrey for Oklahoma, nose guard for Alabama, Quinnen Williams, the key matchup in the entire ball game.
Well, I'm not going to say the key matchup, but it'd be first. No, seriously, I think that what happens with that spot and then filters out from there is key, James. It's kind of funny how people have talked about all the weapons Tua has in terms of offense and SEC, et cetera. And Kyler Murray supposedly played behind the best offensive line in the country, but no one seems to have taken that and held that against him in terms of, the Heisman and all of that. But you're only as strong as your weakest link. So even though they have, 140 starts, you said, between the other 4 linemen, that redshirt freshman is the weakest link, in my opinion, for several reasons. First of all, he's never been in this type of environment. He's never been in this environment, and experience means something. And number 2, he's not played against a guy this good in Quentin Williams. And as Saban describes it, it's not just how his motor runs. It's the fact that he's experienced and knows how to play angles. He knows how to set up his blocks. He knows how to make the contact and stalemate until the running back comes by. He knows when to push the pocket. He knows when to hold the pocket. I mean, it's those things that this freshman just probably hasn't seen in this level of defense. So I think it's a game-changing matchup if it's not the key matchup. So if this freshman is able to hold his own against Quentin Williams, hey, Alabama's in for a much longer night than it is if Quentin Williams dominates like he's done all year. I think that totally changes the game.
Something interesting also to think about, not really getting talked about as well. Oklahoma could have 2 rushers go over 1,000 yards this year. So, and even our man DC that we'll talk to tomorrow mentioned this as far as Oklahoma's ability to run the football and Alabama's ability to stop the run. Now, Oklahoma's averaging about 260 yards a game on the ground, albeit I know out there against Big 12 defenses. But still, deal or no deal, Oklahoma needs to rush for at least 150 yards if they are to win the game on Saturday.
You know, you're right. We may say that it's against Big 12 defenses, James. But even with that being said, 2 running backs close to 1,000 yards when neither one of those running backs were the starters at the beginning of the year in an offense where a quarterback has 4,000 passing yards and almost now, is that 2 running backs plus the quarterback? Because you know the quarterback is at 800 and something, almost 900 yards.
Yeah, that's the 2 running backs. That's not including
right. That's my point. Is they could potentially have 3 guys go over 1,000 yards, literally, if you're not careful and they have their way. Kyler Murray taking off on one big run all of a sudden, and then the running back. So I think it's important that they have running backs play that game. If they're going to beat Alabama, James, I think that's going to have to be part of it. I don't think that Oklahoma wants to beat themselves. You know, we've talked a lot about Alabama wanting to keep Oklahoma off the field. Why is nobody saying that Oklahoma doesn't want to score quick and keep putting their defense back out there? Think about it. Does Oklahoma want to get into a all-out shootout with Alabama where they're having to put their defense back out there as porous as their defense is? So I think Oklahoma will use the running game some to see if they can have some success running the ball. And if they're going to beat Alabama, I would say they need above 150 yards rushing from the running back position in order to take down Alabama.
No, you do have to talk about Oklahoma's defense too, because, I mean, certainly giving up a lot of yards, a lot of points, and some of that reason, get this, folks, second from last out of 129 teams in the FBS, Football Bowl Subdivision, or old school Division 1A, when it comes to red zone defense. So they've had 47 trips for opposing teams inside the 20-yard line. Opposing teams have scored 40 touchdowns out of 47 opportunities this year. So Oklahoma second, 128 out of 129 teams in red zone defense. Deal or no deal, Alabama will score a touchdown in every red zone trip on Saturday.
Wow. How many red zone trips are they going to make, James? No, I'm just kidding. I will say, I'm going to say no deal, and hope I'm wrong. I think somewhere along the line, it's not always how good the other team plays. Sometimes you just don't execute, and sometimes there may be a drop pass or something like that. But I think they may get a stop in the red zone. But I think if Alabama gets down there 9 times out of 10, if they get to the red zone, they're going to push it into the end zone. And it's really based on how the game's going. If the game's going and Alabama's up, James, they won't be as aggressive in terms of getting points if they're up by a touchdown or 2 and they get to the red zone. then they may not be as aggressive. If they're in a neck and neck game, then the play calls are going to be a little more aggressive to get the points, because I think you want to score 7 every chance you get with this Oklahoma team. But if you already got a little lead, you may just want to get points and keep extending it. So I'm going to say no deal, but maybe I missed that one.
We saw Jalen Hurts in an emergency role, shining moment for the junior in the SEC championship game. So with Tua's still some lingering questions, not as much as probably even last week as far as Tua's injury status is concerned. Deal or no deal, we will see Jalen Hurts get into the game on Saturday.
That's a great question. And what I go back to this is, James, because of the type of injury it is, okay, it's a high ankle sprain. And how hard is it to re-injure a high ankle sprain? Not very hard at all. One wrong step, one wrong turn, etc., and Tua could be right back out, okay? That's one thing to consider. How vulnerable is this particular injury, okay, to happening during the game? Number 2 is how much serious, even though we saw him running in those drills immediately when they started practicing, he wasn't practicing full speed. And so Jalen was taking some first-team reps that first week. And so I think because of that, James, that Jalen has taken more first-team reps than he's taken all season since the first game. And with those two factors, along with the fact that he performed at a high level, I think that they probably game plan him some, regardless of how healthy Tua is. I think Tua's healthy. Tua's going to start. I think Tua's going to play. But I do expect to see Alabama have put some playing time in there in the game plan, not emergency, but part of the game plan for this Oklahoma defense to prepare for and stop and see what they do when they run him out there. So, and we may see some more of that, both of them on the field type of stuff as well. So, yes, Jalen Hurts will play on Saturday. Deal
or no deal, the first team to 35 points will win the game.
Yes, if it's Alabama. I'm gonna say deal if it's Alabama, and I'm being serious with that. I think Oklahoma could get there if they get to 35. I don't think they're going to get – well, I'm not going to tell you what I think yet. They may get there, but I think Alabama wins this game sort of like last year's Georgia game. I just think it's too much and too long for Oklahoma to stay in. If Oklahoma wins this game, James, this flips the script on how to win championships in college football in a hurry. If a team like Oklahoma can win, and you'll see recruiting even change even more with these hurry-up spread offenses if that were to happen.
So one final deal or no deal. Auburn kicks off tomorrow at 12:30 in Nashville in the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl at 12:30 on ESPN against 6-6 Purdue. Now Auburn only 7-5 on the season, so deal or no deal, Auburn will lose their bowl game to Purdue.
I hope not. And I know that sounds bad for me because people probably shout. When it gets to the bowl game, I like to see the SEC win games. So I'm going to say no deal. It's possible Purdue, whichever Purdue, if the good Purdue shows up, they beat Auburn. But I think we'll see Gus Malzahn actually be in his element where he's calling plays. So we'll see what happens. I'm not ready to cheer for Auburn, but I think Auburn represents the SEC and gets the win against Purdue.